And in Heels is a motivational, inspirational, and educational podcast for women entrepreneurs. Let's learn from each other, laugh with each other, and support each other so we can all succeed together. And just remember, women can do anything, and in heels. Hi, and welcome to And in Heels. So today we have Traci Lamb, and I hope some of you remember Traci. She is the CEO and founder of Caregiving Worldwide global streaming network. Traci was actually on season 1. She was our first return guest to season 2 on video. So welcome, Traci. We're so glad to have you back.
Thank you so much. I am glad to be here. Glad to be here.
So Morgan and I were so excited to have you back, only because one, we get to frequently keep updated on your story and your success and everything that's going on in your world. And we can't wait to share those updates. But tell us a little bit, for the listeners that maybe don't know you from season 1, a little bit about your background, who you are, what Caregiving Worldwide Network is, and how you got to this point.
Sure. Well, again, my name is Traci Lamb, and my background, I have a lot of, I started off in legal, recruiting, but most of my background was with hospice. Okay. And that's where I saw basically a gap in the healthcare industry, in that anyone taking care of a loved one at home, from a small special needs child to a grandmother, they didn't have a one-stop shop. Yeah. For them to be able to find products and resources that could help them on their caregiving journey. So I decided to create that back in 2019. And we have been able to kind of morph that into mass media. Okay. In 2021, I won a couple of awards, and I did have to stop for about a year taking care of my own parents. And then
the irony of that story,
yes,
right? The irony
of
that.
Yes, I did. I had to put the whole company on hold for 11 months, taking care of both of my parents, still take care of my mom. My dad passed in February of last year. And, I was able to get into radio. And then in January of this year, we started in TV. So it's just grown from there. So it's been a crazy, crazy ride.
Very cool. Now tell us a little bit about the streaming network. So where will your shows be found? And then give us a highlight of some of the shows that are in production now.
Sure. So the shows can be found on RHS TV. That stands for Red House Streaming TV. That's a channel. It can be found on Roku, Hulu, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Google TV.
Okay. So major streaming networks.
Yes, they're
networks, yeah.
Absolutely. The original TV show started in January. That was Caregiving Worldwide. Okay. So you can find all of those episodes, and even starting into season 2. We're currently dropping season 2 as we speak.
Now tell us a little bit about what that one's about, Traci.
Sure. So that particular show, I went ahead and I brought on individual CEOs for each episode, and I would interview them about their company. And they either had a product or service that we wanted to highlight that could help different people that were taking care of loved ones at home. So really some cool products and services. The problem is you can't Google what you don't know exist.
Well, you're speaking our language. You are speaking our digital marketing language there, yeah.
And it's so true, because the reality is
so to bring awareness to these companies and products. Yeah.
Absolutely, because there's some phenomenal companies out there that have some fantastic products and services out there, and you really can't find them. So that was the reason, and the core reason, for starting Caregiving Worldwide.
Okay.
Then our newest TV show is actually dropping next week. We're very excited.
We're excited about that.
Yes, you guys should be.
So it's November 3rd, for those of you, in case we want to put a date, November 3rd, 2023.
That is correct.
It's going next week. So the weekend, November 10th, 2023.
That is correct. And Forecast Sunny has been awesome. They built a website for that, and they have done an amazing job. So go to safeandsound.media. That is the website. But that particular show is going to have multiple products in each episode. They're going to be highlighted by 2 phenomenal healthcare professionals, Christina and Cindy Harden-Weiss. They are wonderful, wonderful therapists that have been in the industry for a very long time. So they show how to use each product. People will be able to purchase each product through the TV show, and also be able to go to the website. So we're super excited. I think that's going to be able to, we're going to constantly be able to keep updating not only the TV show, but the website as well.
Yeah.
So people will really be able to have a one-stop shop.
Funny how that journey took place. So you have this amazing idea about caregiving.
Yeah.
You formulate, you win awards because of your idea and your vision, and then you create Caregiving Worldwide, the TV show.
Yeah.
And then that leads to the home shopping kind of show,
Yeah.
which is the Safe and Sound, where now caregivers have a true one-stop shop to go find healthcare products and services that they can purchase right there online from you, and watch the TV show to watch a demo and how it works.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a fantastic idea. I mean, tell us real quickly, and I know this because Traci was on 3 national TV shows recently, and I got to go on 2 of those visits with her and be behind the scenes and see her in action. You shared some statistics about caregiving that were surprising, I think, to everyone in the room or everyone that you tell. So share those statistics just so everybody realizes the impact that caregiving today, and it's just going to get bigger, has on our world economy, really.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing how many different countries are dealing with this. This is not just a US problem.
Right.
You know, the reality is that back in 2021, they did the International Carers Organization said there's over 56 million unpaid caregivers just in the US.
Wow.
There's over 13 million in the UK. There's over 7 million in Canada. So that just goes to show you, you know, it's a global problem.
Right.
It's not a United States problem. That's one reason why with streaming, it's a beautiful thing on the TV show, because we're able to get a lot of people.
That's right.
And that's one reason why, you know, we've been able to hit just in their first few months of production, over 600,000 people across 7 countries.
Wow.
And that just shows
Yay,
you there is a
on that one.
well, you know, it just shows you that there really is a desperate
demand.
need. There
The
really is a
demand,
desperate
right.
need.
Right.
Well, and the unpaid part, you know, also. So hopefully your efforts bring awareness to other sectors that are
Yes.
able to start to, you know, lobby for or figure out how to give assistance to these caregivers, because it's going to be a global financial impact if we don't figure out some way to supplement and help them through those tough times.
Oh, for sure. Well, as a matter of fact, in Congress right now, there is a legislation to try and start paying caregivers and people who take care of their loved ones at home.
Yeah.
And I really hope that passes, because it's such an enormous impact. I believe that AARP came out in March with an article, and they said it was a $640 billion problem.
Wow.
I mean, it's a huge number.
Wow.
So there's a lot that needs to be done, a lot
Yeah.
broken. So we got a lot of work to do.
Well, we're so glad you're a visionary in that space, and you're leading everyone to awareness about it, first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then solutions to help. And I think that's what makes just you and your journey incredible. But take us back a little bit. And you know, you've had some amazing opportunities to really have an inspired journey. Tell us a little bit about what has motivated you to do what you're doing.
There's been a lot of different things, but probably the 2 or 3 things would probably be one. You know, like I say, while I worked at hospice, people just called over and over, and I felt so bad, because they would say, you know, well, if hospice can't come and stay with my mom or dad for the next 8 hours, you know, who am I supposed to call and get help from, and this kind of thing. And then I always felt bad because I had no answer. And then when I got into caregiving on my journey in 2021, I didn't even realize how emotionally, physically, mentally draining it is. And even though I knew about resources, half the time I didn't even tap into them myself, because you just are wiped out, you know, and it's all consuming.
Yeah.
And so I think people need to understand, one, they're not alone, because it can make
So
you
important.
do feel like that you're alone.
Right.
And then 2, I think if they can understand, okay, I could go to this one place and I could find all the answers, rather than trying to Google for 3 hours and already their brain is already half dead anyway, trying to do stuff. You know, I think that would at least help.
Oh, love that.
Yeah,
Love
and I
that.
think we have an experience in our family. You know, my grandma, Kelly's mom, took care of my great grandma and
My
your
grandma.
grandma for years in her home.
Mm.
And that was something to where if we would have known about a service like yours, or even, you know, Safe and Sound media, and being able to find products in one place, or products that you don't even know exist to help in situations, it would have made a huge difference. And so it hits home for us because we have an experience like that, and no resources at the time,
Well, and anybody out there that has a product, if
Mhm.
you know of a product that you have used to care for your loved one at home that made a difference in your family's life, have that company contact safeandsound.media.
Yep.
Because the more products we can get in one place, and the more the more easy, efficient, effective we make it for those caregivers who are overwhelmed to find those products and services.
Yep.
Get them to put their products and services on safeandsound.media. One, then it gives our caregivers a one-stop shop resource, and it gives them exposure because, like Traci said earlier, if Google doesn't know you exist, you don't exist online.
right.
So all of those things kind of come together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Well, and like I say, there's so many people that nearly every caregiving will eventually touch everybody. And I tell everybody this.
It's like cancer,
You
right?
know,
Like eventually you're going to know somebody or be a neighbor to someone, or you're going to care for someone. Like it's
either you're going to need the care or somebody that you know is going to need the care. And when that happens, and it literally happens on a moment's notice. My parents went from being completely fine to literally almost within 24 hours, it felt like all of a sudden they both needed
That's not much notice.
And so all of a sudden you're like sucked in. And once you're in, and you're in until however long. And it can be days, weeks, months, years.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be a really long time. And the longer that you're in it, it is very much life-changing. I've gone through a lot of different things in my life, a lot. And I will say, honestly, those 11 months that I did the caregiving were probably the hardest I've ever gone through anything because it just was so very hard.
Well, as you said, it touches every aspect. It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's financial. Like it hits every one of the senses that you could possibly go through.
Yeah, it really, really does.
So touching on our inspirational part of our podcast today. So what in your life, and I know you have lots of them just from knowing Traci, but what in your life was your main inspiration for wanting to form Caregiving Worldwide, but then also Safe and Sound is an extension of that and all of the other great things that you do, but what was that main inspiration?
Honestly, I have a passion for people. I love helping people. I'm a Christian. I love serving people. For me, I get great joy whether I'm talking to somebody on the phone and I give them some kind of a resource and they're like, oh, that helps so much. They have that like
gratification.
They have that like aha moment.
Yeah.
I had this wonderful little 97-year-old lady call me. Sweetest little lady, and she was taking care of her husband, and she said, she goes, he's doing okay, but I just need a little help. And I said, okay. And she ended up, I said to her, well, why don't you, I said, I think you need to call hospice. I said, I understand that he's not dying yet. I had to kind of have the hospice conversation and let her know that doesn't mean he's dying. So she went ahead and she called hospice, and she called me the next week, and she was just like, I just cannot thank you enough. They are helping me so much. They're helping him so much, everything. And, when I have conversations like that and people say, I just can't tell you enough how much it's really helped me. That is so worth it.
Rewarding.
It is so worth it. So it makes all of the hard times, the difficult times worth it.
Yeah. But just imagine how many conversations like that aren't happening because somebody doesn't know who to ask, what to ask. And sometimes we know we need a solution, but we don't know what that solution is. So we wouldn't know to ask for that. Because I think the assumption in this case is that hospice, your loved one has to be in their final days or weeks or what toward the end of their life. But I think just being around you, Traci, and knowing that that is not the case, and that is not really the true intention of hospice or where their services extend.
Right.
But how many other topics like that?
Yes. It's a lack of education. That's the problem. It's a
and
lack of
resources
education
to even learn.
Yeah, and it's not that people don't want to learn. It's that most of the time people don't want to learn until they get into that space.
Well, because they don't have to.
Because they don't have to. It's not urgent. And then the other problem is that once they get into it, they don't know where to find the education.
Well, and you're overwhelmed by that point because now you're in it.
Yeah, now you're in it. That's exactly right.
And so now it's like playing catch up.
That's exactly right. So the whole point of Caregiving Worldwide in the big scope is just to provide education, products, services just, and it's not about me, it's about helping all these other
Serve
people.
the yeah.
Well, and it's also about helping other companies, because
Sure.
all these companies have phenomenal products and
Yeah.
services. They really,
Yeah.
really do. And they can really help a lot of
Mhm.
people. So if
Yeah.
I can help the companies and I can help the caregivers, then to me that becomes a wonderful marriage.
Yeah. And I know you're working with a few companies
Mhm.
that really just have made visionary leaps and bounds into the space.
Yeah.
And one or two of them I think are in a slate to potentially have a show. Do you want to talk about any of those or kind of highlight any of
Yeah,
those?
I know Tactical Rehab is
Yeah.
one of my greatest clients. They're a company that really serves military and vets.
Which again, such an underserved market.
Oh, absolutely. And they specifically do customized products and services for the military and vets.
Mhm.
They're really, really awesome company. They work with the Department of Defense, really fantastic company. And they're going to be doing a show called Healthcare for Heroes. And that's going to
Yes.
be coming out in
Yes.
January or first quarter of next year. So I'm really, really excited about that. We've got a lot of good shows coming out in the spring. We're going to
Yeah.
be doing a Latino Hispanic community business show. We're going to be doing some B2B shows.
Nice.
We're going to be bringing And in Heels to the
Mhm.
network.
Yay.
So we're
Yay.
going to be doing
Yeah.
a lot of different things, having a women's empowerment show, all of these
Yes.
different kinds of things, because I really want the network to be diverse.
Yes.
I want people to be able to find a
Yes.
lot of different things that they
Mhm.
can,
Yes.
that will help them.
And what a great way to showcase all of the different aspects of healthcare and home care through these different types of shows, because
Yeah.
there are sectors and segments within that
Absolutely.
we would forget, like,
Mhm.
okay, the military.
Yeah.
There may be
Mhm.
programs and resources that are available to them and products that they would not have known about if a
Right.
show like this wasn't put together. So
Absolutely.
what an amazing effort. And Trace, I know a little bit about your background, and I know in season 1 you went into it, but some people aren't going to go back and listen to that season 1.
Yes.
And we all have a journey, right? And
Yep.
that journey leads us to be stronger. And
Sure.
God doesn't give us more than we can handle. Boy, do we
True.
know that. But take us a little bit through your journey, because
Sure.
you had some major bumps in the road that you have overcome, and kudos to you that you've done that. But
Thank
for all those listening out there that think, oh gosh, I can't overcome that, because she's the tip of the iceberg right now, but there's a lot of iceberg below that water, right?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of iceberg below the water.
So give us just a little,
Sure.
I know you skimmed over it today, but give us a little background. Like,
Sure.
you had this great idea, you had this company going, and boom,
Yes.
brick wall.
Yeah, I was getting some pretty good traction by 2021, and I had won a couple of international awards. Things were starting to go pretty good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, both of my parents got sick.
Yeah.
And I literally had to just drop the whole company.
Yeah.
And I had made no money at
And
that
that means
point.
no money.
No
That
money,
means
no
stop.
nothing.
Yeah.
And I had been personally funding the company up until then. And I put everything on hold. And then my dad passed in February of 22. Well, when my dad passed, I found out, like a lot of caregivers, all of a sudden my dad was destitute. He had no money.
So the income he had coming in was
Yes.
only there while he was living.
That's right.
And that's a
and-
problem that sometimes we don't know until it's too late.
That's exactly right. And I did not find that out until
No,
dad was
right.
gone. And then, so my mom only got $5,000 when he died.
right.
He had
For
a
her
life
lifetime.
Yes, he had a life insurance policy, and we didn't find out until he died that he had taken out a loan against the life
Oh.
insurance policy.
Oh, no.
And so that's why she only got 5,000. So I took a job working from home so I could help take care of her.
Sure.
And we were almost homeless.
Yeah.
We ended up finding a place of 428 square feet to live in. And I slept on the floor in the kitchen, and my mom had the bedroom. And that's how I slowly, my mom came to me in May of last year and said, I want you to take dad's last 5,000 and go all in your business. And like I say, I am a person of faith. So I prayed that night. I was like, God, I literally have no backup plan.
Like, if this
I-
doesn't work, I'm
If this
Yeah.
doesn't work,
Yeah.
I'm going back to square one. And
Yeah.
I have I'm divorced. I have no kids.
Mhm.
My siblings are both passed. My
this
dad
was
was
it.
gone. This was literally it. And in the first 90 days, I got my first radio show based out of Palm Beach County, Florida. I got my first client, Kevin
Yay.
from Technical
Yes, yes.
Rehab. And by August, I was asked to be on a local TV show, and that
Mhm.
started the conversation about TV and about
Okay.
nothing about caregiving in
Amazing how-
TV. And by January, we were able to get our first show. So it has been a really crazy ride.
Yeah. But look where you are
I
today. Look
know.
where you are today. And getting there sometimes requires learning, right?
Yes.
Because we
Yep.
can't get beyond where we are today if we
Without a
don't
doubt.
learn something new.
Right.
Oh yeah, learned a lot.
Yeah.
Whole lot. Good and bad.
Learning in life, learning in business. Like there's
Absolutely.
both types of learning, right?
Absolutely.
And some of it is
Absolutely.
failing
Yeah.
to learn.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the journey, and that's okay too.
Absolutely.
But tell us, Trace, in the healthcare industry, and obviously in this new media world that you've been pulled into, really,
Yes.
by fate, God, whoever you want to blame for that or
Yep.
credit for that.
Yep.
But what have you learned along the way? What are those educational moments? How do you continue to learn and enrich yourself? Like, what are the ways that you really just make sure you're getting better every day?
Oh, several things. One, the mistakes I've made in the past, I really try to remember because those were very definitely things that I'm like, okay, we really don't want to do that again. Bad idea.
And I believe we make mistakes for a reason. Tracy
Yep.
and I've had a lot of conversations about this because Tracy and I live on like parallel planes, I think. But one of the things we've talked about in that is the mistakes are really lessons in disguise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yes, a mistake or yes, a bump in the road, but really they've made us better every step of the way.
Absolutely. And as difficult at times some of them have been, I would not change the fact that I've learned some lessons that have been amazing. The other thing would be, honestly, I am currently surrounded by some amazing people. I now have
your
a
team,
board
your
of
tribe.
advisors. Yeah, I really have a really strong board of advisors now that are really, really helping elevate me, help elevate the network, and really gonna be taking this whole thing to a whole nother level, and I'm very blessed in that way. And I think when you're a leader, no matter what you're leading, I think you have to be humble enough to be able to say, you know what, I will listen to critiques, I will listen to whatever I need to do to make my company get better. And I think that's one of the biggest.
There is a quote somewhere, and I'm trying to remember where I saw it, but it's humbling, but it's so true. Make sure you're never the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely.
Because if you're surrounding yourself by a team that's going to elevate you, you cannot be the smartest one in the room because you're already at the top.
Right.
And I think that's a mistake sometimes, whether it's ego
Yeah.
or what it is that gets in a leader's way that leads them to believe they need to be the smartest one in the room. And I think it's exactly, if we're going to learn and grow, it's opposite of that.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. The reality is that you have to realize that I think the best leaders are the ones that are the most humble, because you honestly have to realize that all the people that are working with you or are within your organization or whatever, they may have good ideas too, and you brought them on board for a reason.
Yes.
It's not because they're not smart people. It's because they have really good ideas too. So I think you have to be able to listen.
And be
that's the
willing
key.
to
And be
listen.
willing to listen.
That's really the key, is be willing to listen,
True
right?
enough. Yes, very
That's
true.
one of the hardest things to do. And I know Morgan, in her experience, got to be at Disney for a while. My dream job. And Disney is really big on mentorship and education. And I think knowing one of the most successful companies in the world it has its pillars on those foundations of mentorship and continuing education. Why would the rest of us think that we don't need that?
Absolutely.
And I know I had the privilege of going through a Disney leadership course back in my professional career. The company I worked for was kind enough to let us hire Disney to come in for like a customer service and leadership course. One of the most enlightening things I've ever been through, because it really teaches you have two ears and one mouth for a reason.
Yep.
And I think that's a humbling experience.
Yep.
I completely agree with that. The reality is that, none of us know everything. And we're all constantly in a state of learning, growing, changing, morphing. I look back now to 2019 and to where I am today. And honestly, I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
And I'm actually proud of that. I'm not completely different in the core of who I am, but I have grown tremendously, and like you say, challenges that you go through do make you grow. They force
Yes.
growth.
Mhm.
And that's a good thing. You know,
Yeah.
at the time that you're going through it, you're like, okay, I really don't want to be
It's
going through this.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of entrepreneurship. You have to get out of your comfort zone. If you
Mm.
stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow.
Mhm.
You're always going to stay exactly where you are. So you have to get uncomfortable and be okay with that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what
Mhm.
does our business coach say about that, Morgan? Do you remember? Like,
Well, I mean, lots of things, but I think it's the being uncomfortable is only going to make you stronger and grow. And a lot of the times too, and what we've talked about a lot with our business coach, we just talked about this in a podcast previously of like most of the time entrepreneurs are creating something out of a passion or necessity.
Yes.
It's not necessarily that they woke up and said, I want to be an entrepreneur and do this. I mean, that's not to say all the situations aren't,
True.
but then they don't know how to be business owners, and
Yep.
sometimes they don't know how to lead other people to follow their plan or their
Mhm.
goal.
That is
So I think it's finding that happy medium, and you know, business coaching, although we were just talking about this earlier, can be uncomfortable and painful to
Yeah.
go through the process of getting to where you need to be.
well, it's accountability.
Right.
Oh,
It's
it is.
accountability.
Right.
And accountability is hard
Mhm.
sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know what we should do.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Right.
or we know we
Right.
should do it.
Right.
Or even after you hear it, you're like, gosh, I need to do that. But then it's
Mhm.
really making yourself implement that or do
Right,
that. Like
right.
that's
Oh,
hard.
for sure. You know, and I kind of did my business crazy, you know, honestly. And I'll tell
Hey,
anybody that.
yeah.
You know, I started it off kind of like as a passion and a dream, you know,
Right,
honestly.
right.
And then all of a sudden it was like,
Now it's a
holy
thing.
mackerel, it's a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's like it's a
But
real
I don't think you're alone in that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's how a lot of
I
businesses
know.
get started. It's a passion, a dream, and then all of a sudden, no, it's a business.
Right.
Now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that business coaches actually are needed.
Yes.
I
Yes.
never really understood business coaches before I got this deep into what I'm doing.
Yes.
But I absolutely believe that business coaches are
Mhm.
needed because
Yeah.
they really can help you navigate a lot of this stuff. And like
Yeah.
you say, cause accountability.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I think when you look at the most successful athletes in the world, like
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
These people are being paid millions of dollars for their talent.
Yes.
But they also have how many coaches behind them?
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't get to that level and say, we're going to pay you millions of dollars and forget the coaching. Just do it on your own now.
Mm,
No.
yeah, no.
And so why as a business owner should we not feel okay about getting a coach?
Absolutely.
Because
Mhm.
I don't know everything about running a business. You know a lot about healthcare. You know a lot about customer experience and service, but we all need a coach
Mhm.
to guide us and create
Yes.
accountability. I think to make us aware of things that we just wouldn't have otherwise known.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with that. And I
Yeah.
mean, like I say, that's one reason why I brought this board of advisors on for me
Sure.
at Caregiving
Mhm.
Worldwide.
Don't be the
because
smartest person in the room.
Absolutely.
Right?
You know, I mean, it
Yeah.
allows me to work with some people that have already
They
been
can
there, done
elevate
that.
you.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they've really already navigated this road. And
Yeah.
so
Oh,
they
yeah.
can go, okay, you're right here. Let us help you get down here.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
Tracy's advice in that, you know, for our listeners out there, find a mentor.
Yep.
Find or a group of people to work with that are going to elevate you. They're going
For
to bring
sure.
you up to that next
For
level.
sure.
Mhm.
Because it's really hard to get there alone. And no successful person has gotten there alone.
No.
Ever, ever, ever. If you look in history and you read some of the most successful books about leadership or growing a business or entrepreneurship, they all had a team or a
Yep.
tribe of
Yep.
some sort that they worked
Absolutely.
with. Nobody
Mhm.
did it alone.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well, Tracy, it has been a blast, but
I
we're wrapping
know.
up today.
I know. Unfortunately, we have to end today, but I guess what for all of our listeners, what is the final nugget that you would leave us with today?
Or word of advice.
Or word of
yeah.
advice to end the conversation, because again, you've been through so much, you've had so many experiences, and like we've covered, you started a business with maybe out of necessity but not necessarily knowing what is this business thing about. So what is the one final thing you'd leave us with today?
Oh goodness, that's a lot. It's a lot to ask for just one thing. I think I would leave you with two things. One, it would be for caregivers, they just need to work on being prepared.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, but just try to get. It's like when you retire. If you want to retire early and you don't plan on retirement, you know,
Mhm.
It won't happen.
It won't happen.
All right.
And then if you just all of a sudden get into this caregiving space, you're going to be sucked down. So
Right.
just try and prepare. That would be my piece of advice for them. For business owners on the flip side, I would just say, you know, I would say recommend getting coaching, And always surround yourselves with people, number one, that are positive and
Oh,
that
yes.
uplift you up and that will always help and encourage you, because you are going to have days when you just feel like, okay, I'm throwing in the towel.
I'm
That's it.
done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I mean, you're going to have more days than you think that way. But then, you know, the passion will come back, and
Yeah.
the drive or whatever it is that's really driving you is going to
Yeah.
come back, and you're going to be like, okay, no, I'm not quite ready to throw in the towel yet.
Yeah.
You know, and you need the
Mhm.
people around that are going to surround you and say, okay, no, you don't need to.
No.
You know what you need to do, and
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Well, Traci, it's always a pleasure. So glad you were here today with us. Thank you again for being on And in Heels.
Thank you.
And we're excited for season 3 to see what you have
Me
going on a year from
too.
now. Can't
Oh,
wait to hear.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Traci.
We'll be happy to be coming back. You guys are awesome.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Trace.
you. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And just remember, women can do anything and in heels.